Sup everybody, this is Carrick with ACG, and what follows is my hands-on for more than 10 hours with Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster on PC, and that gave me enough time to run around that little undead mall, chomp, romp, and stomp my way through about 10,000 of the brainless horde in the new graphics engine, and with the changes in gameplay I'm going to talk about. Are you a Dead Rising fan? Is this going to be your first possible experience with it? Well, the game offers a bit for everybody so far, and it's closer to a remakester than it is a remake or a remaster solo. So let's do this. This is Carrick, I run ACG, and let's discuss Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster. Chocolate milk power-ups, pro-hormone supplements, and their effect on hairlines, and never underestimating the power of a frozen fish and purple pinstripe socks in a zombie apocalypse. Also, check out the Wild Bastards preview coming later today, and subscribe and hit the notify all. A zombie plague hits a small town, and only some survivors are left, and some folks you wish weren't surviving are left. A reflection of Dawn of the Dead. Most of the game has to do with a mall itself in the small town and your exploits in it. An open mall sandbox extravaganza. That means running around in third-person view, you can skateboard around, knocking enemies down, grab soccer balls to kill them in groups, dress up and whack them with plastic robot swords, and more. From quests to talking to creating recipes, bicycling through zombies, all of that takes moments of time. Nighttime zombies are more dangerous and slightly faster than those during the day, and things actually step it up with each day ticking down. And that also means that quests, escorts, cutscenes can all play out in different ways or not play out at all. If you don't save somebody in time, a survivor behind a barricade made of metal shoe racks and hope could be munched on before you get a chance to save them. As a third-person open mall game, the controls are fairly simple. It has you attacking without aiming and then also holding down a button to aim, which lets you throw items instead of swing them. Pottery plants, pineapple juices, pokey things, pretty much anything. Frank has a set of basic combos that play out. For instance, swing your $90 Amazon sale guitar into someone's dome and it plays out chords as you do so. Katanas, crates, crumbled bits of scaffolding laying around in the form of perfectly formed 2x4s. All of them also have durability. Now, in the original Dead Rising, there was no durability settings that you could see. You had to count attacks and keep an eye on more to make sure the item wouldn't break amidst some zombie moment of recreation. Here, in a big step up, durability bars are helpful as hell for you to be able to see each weapon. Also, when it comes to healing items, you can eat them normally with it restoring a number of health points, as well as mix drinks, cook pizzas, and prepare other foods to increase their effectiveness. Just a little mini recipe system, as well as leveling up, which occasionally gives Frank extra health bars as well. And that means that old bag of Frankfurters can eat up important spots because inventory slots aren't just important. Some larger items like chainsaws are too big to put in your friggin' pocket. So you're shuffling around and dropping a chainsaw to quickly drink chocolate milk, then pick it back up and pull start that damned thing again. Those are precious moments that you'll lose within the gameplay, and you'll be dodging and juking that entire time to keep yourself alive. Now, speaking of time-escorted missions, this was always a tense subject for gamers. The people who are in the escorts have the following ability of someone who hasn't taken their Ritalin, moping around, getting caught in corners, consistently requiring you to keep them safe as they meander to whatever quest location they've decided they need to go to. Here, though, it is improved, but I still noticed a couple occasional times where characters didn't follow me correctly or there were some odd pathing issues. It does seem improved. We'll just have to see throughout the full game if that's something that is notable. The remaster also does have some notable changes to the shooting. Frank made it clear in the original game that he shoots pictures, not guns, and he did play that way. Like a scared kid, frozen almost catatonic every time he fired, where the remaster lets you actually move when firing, which is a big help, as is the somewhat redesigned HUD. It also adds more save spots and ways for you to save the game progress, improve movement and control options. In all these ways, it feels hugely better. Frank moved like a box of smashed assholes, and while he still gropes around and can easily miss a jump kick here or there, it's all helped by this new engine and just a slightly slicker feeling. Another job of sorts, but honestly enjoyable, is taking photos as a war photographer. It's Frank's job and therefore yours. Brutalities, killings, people meeting back with loved ones all build up your PP points, which then helps you level up. I just realized what PP point sounds like. It was a huge part of the B-movie feel from the original game, and you get to see the mall through Frank's lens, through his eyes, as well as the actual physical lens of the camera, and decide to help or take a single shot of someone getting fruit snacked. Sometimes it comes down to a single second or a moment of inaction where that character may die. Also, they did remove the ability to take erotic pics. In the first game, you got pics for taking pictures of women in various poses, and that's no longer here. I don't really remember if I I'd use that in the major game. I don't think I did, but that is one place where those actual points are no longer there for you to get, so they've had to do some balancing. That's really a mixture of all of the on foot or on skateboard or on bicycle parts that you encounter as Frank. Let's talk a little bit about the story here and the characters and why, at least to me, one of the main characters doesn't get talked about too much. While the game is filled with all these different unique people you talk to, the main one that consistently remains in my heart is Parkview Mall itself. It's split into roughly half a dozen total sections when combined. It's a large arch of anarchy, a toy store for adults masquerading as one for children. Locked off areas requiring keys keeps you searching, but you're never really stymied. Hundreds of locations means you're never searching too far for some weapon when you want to replicate Shaun of the Dead's moments of brilliance, throwing records, orange juice, or a mother of pearl necklace at enemies. But it went one step forward. You had gumball machines scattering, bowling balls careening through zombies' legs, and Frank, ever the consummate professional, can slip into something a little more comfortable whenever he finds a new clothing store. Even in these 10 plus hours, it all felt familiar enough to remember, but fresh enough that it feels like newcomers will be able to work through the general lack of frills gameplay. This is a little bit like an old car with some updated features. Dead Rising is from a different time, a 360 game whose claim to fame at the time was a massive zombie count on screen that still applies, but feels a bit less impressive now after so many years. It still feels amazing, though, to mow down a group of zombies. Always fun. Graphically, it's got a number of settings, but this is that middle between a remake and a remaster. While there's new details and locations, textures are noticeably improved, and many other graphical embellishments are here, especially to the lighting. This is a new engine, of course. It's still in that middle ground, and this can't be better exemplified by Frank himself. Dead Rising, as a bit of a different artistic slant, always made Frank look unique. They're caricatures almost, and some will like the newer look, some will like the older look, and some will have no idea what we're talking about. It is always going to be an older looking game with those up-res assets, but Frank himself has the worst short man syndrome ever. He's insanely jacked in this. It can make it look weird moving around. The dude is just straight a tree trunk person hybrid with a neck like Brock Lesnar. He's a wartime photographer, so maybe he does some sets between photos, who knows? But there are times where it just looked hilarious with him talking to somebody and he's basically just flexing his guns at all times. Outdoors, the game is decidedly a tiny bit older looking, especially when you're moving around the game world. This is cleaned up with DLSS, Intel upscaling, or FSR, as well as frame generation that are all available. Let's talk about the voice work though. Capcom always nailed it with the Dead Rising games. Here's the thing. Frank's already had 3 different voice actors. You got Terrence, you got Ty Olsson, and then the newcomer here in this game. If you're a fan of Frank in the original or Ty Olsson's version, both of those not here. You're going to notice that difference in inflection and certainly in accent. Coming into it after a long time, after playing the original, it was fine with me. Something about Frank's original voice actor had a unique timbre to it that isn't here, but the humor is still pretty much the same. I'm going to need to play through it to see how that changes the actual feeling going on and getting farther along in the cases and stories, and to see comparing this to Ty Olsson and comparing it to Terrence. Another thing that is altered that is excellent here is something that wasn't in the first game. It's noticeably better. It's 3D audio. This is hugely helpful when cornered by zombies. You need to know just how much you should cover your 6 because other zombies are coming up behind you, or that one you drop by burning their face with a skillet is finally shambling back to his feet to try to take the world's slowest version of revenge out on you. Like all Dead Risings prior in the original game, it's all about customization, putting on clothes that are straight from Oshkosh, and then jump kicking some dude chewing on another dude like a dude. It has a feeling closer to games in the 360 era, which means it is crunchy and a bit cumbersome. As always, it's weirdly enjoyable. For example, one place Dead Rising continues to excel is how it handles the level ups, especially because this is not a hugely deep RPG system. While you go up in some stats, Frank actually gets some brutal moves that feel like you're straight from a wrestling show or a B-movie classic. Different situations where you can leap up and run along the tops of the zombie heads as they're too slow to basically attack you, and you can just use them like little steps. The issues here remain from the original though. Now, shooting is much cleaner in this, but it's not as clean as other third-person games that you may be accustomed to, regardless of the handgun or SMG you're using. Sometimes collision detections on the zombies is a tiny bit wonky, and they can treat you a little bit like a Canelo opponent and duck under a swinging 2x4 like they're in the Matrix and you're one of those security guards Neo sent into the afterlife in his quest to help people. My overall thoughts of this Dead Rising Deluxe Remaster seems to fit right into a slot most remasters have that touch up gameplay. It's on a new engine, so you get a jump even from there. The added durability bar, hugely beneficial, because swinging around baseball bats with the structural integrity of a 9-year-old's patience sucked in the original game. So being able to identify where that weapon was is helpful right away. And the inclusion of the timer, which I actually enjoy and personally loved. Like State of Decay 1's simulation of the world when you weren't playing, Dead Rising's extra level of stress to me was awesome and adjusted or removed in later versions to what I think was a little less success. We'll see how this plays out in the deluxe version and what modes are there. I was playing a timed mode. My feelings when I got down to this were not necessarily split. There were a couple issues. I liked the gameplay, the walk-around parts. They felt a little old, but they were quite enjoyable. And this being Dead Rising, in particular, a remake or remastering of the original, it did a very good job with changes that appear to be somewhat subtle, like moving around while you're firing. You and I may not think that's subtle, but to a lot of people who make remasters, you don't see that added into those games very often. And here, it's a huge difference. Let's hope, like Frank and the player, they can bring this one successfully in on time and get all those quests completed. That's it for me. Check out the new podcast channel that you guys will see. I would love for you to comment, thumbs up, spread this. It really does help. And check out the new videos, previews, and reviews coming from me in the next couple days. You can see those in the cards or the description.